Bye.
The Irish Car Carbon Reduction Alliance is calling on the Minister for Finance, Paschal Donohoe, to make new cars affordable to more people by reducing the VRT in the forthcoming budget, a move that would also help the government to reduce carbon emissions. And Denis Murphy, who's a spokesperson for the Irish Car Carbon Reduction Alliance, joins me now. Good morning to you, Denis.
Morning, friends.
Good to talk to you today. It seems like you're at nothing where this is concerned, because there's already talk of increasing VRT bans from 11 to 20 to push motorists towards cleaner, greener cars.
Yeah, that's correct. I think the reason that we exist, Fran, in the first place, is because of what's been suggested. And in short, if I summarise what's been suggested, the tax strategy group, which is a government think tank, are recommending that to increase the price of the average family car in Ireland by €4,000 in October's budget. That's only 3 weeks away, which is a huge amount of money. Now, already, Fran, the average tax on the average car in Ireland, right, is coming to €10,400. Now, in anybody's mind, right, that's excessive amount of taxation. And what it's done, right, is brought the average price of a car in Ireland to around €32,000, which is beyond the affordability levels of 70% of the population.
And how does that compare to other countries then? What is the average in other places?
We're mad, we're crazy, Fran. We're the second highest in the European Union. We're the second highest car taxation on cars in the European Union. The only other country that's higher than us is Denmark. And the idea is, right, and they want to increase that even further, Fran, you know. And the idea behind this, right, is that it comes back to it. I know if you probably recall, right, the Climate Action Plan last year and the target of having 1 million electric vehicles on the road by 2030. Now, again, that again is completely unrealistic. And what we believe the industry, and this is the European industry, are saying is going to be half that, 50% of that, right? So and that's nothing to do with it's nothing to do with the Irish government, right? It's to do with the supply and pricing of these cars when we can get them.
Explain that to listeners, because there's a criteria in terms of the supply, isn't there?
Well, you see, the supply is that, like, when you go into any car dealership, Fran, right, there's small cars, medium cars, big cars, there's 4-wheel drive cars, there's 5-door cars, 3-door cars, there's 5-seater cars, there's 7-seater cars, right? The electric cars are only just coming on the market now, and they're mostly small cars, right? But they're like, you'll have the same selection will arrive, but it's not going to arrive tomorrow or the next day or the next day. It's going to take time. And the average price of an electric car in the Irish market at the moment, before the grants, right, is around €45,000. So after the grants, it's about €35,000. Now, the grants are €10,000, and if you want to get 1 million electric cars on the road by 2030, that's a subsidy of €10 billion, which isn't going to happen. So the grants are going to have to disappear at some point in the future. So the pricing isn't there, and the supply isn't there to hit this 1 million cars.
So that's never going to happen, as far as you're concerned, by 2030.
There's not a hope it's going to happen, Fran, right? And we're saying it's right. The first year of this is 2021, so this 1 million cars is supposed to start in 2021. We're saying that this thing is doomed to failure ever before it starts. And what we're saying to them, right, is that check that. Don't take that we're saying is, because we are a vested interest and we are interested in selling more cars, right? We've never hidden that's our objective, right? But don't take our word for it. The data that we have is verifiable, and it can be verified internationally. Why don't you just go away before you go away and do this and check out our data? Because the response to what we're suggesting, right? And we're suggesting that VRT should be reduced because new cars that are coming next year, the new engine cars, are 28% more fuel efficient than the average car on Irish roads. So what you should do, if you want to make a 28% saving on emissions, or imagine our target for 2030 is a 30% saving, cumulative 30% saving by 2030. That's our Paris climate target. If we sell more new cars, we're going to go a long way towards it.
Yeah, but I must say, outside of electric cars, I'm completely confused, Denis, about what
you're
is...
You're not the only one, Frank. Everybody else is as well, you know.
Yeah, where an environmentally friendly car is concerned, I'm confused about that, you know, because there's hybrids out there. I mean, diesel seems to be the bad guy now completely.
Well, see, that's another story. Can I just, before I get on to that, Frank, just say one thing. What the Irish government, or what the tax strategy group are recommending, right, is that to get people to buy electric cars, they're going to make internal combustion engine cars so expensive. That's their policy.
Yes.
So they're going to make them so expensive that they're not going to, that nobody, so people can't afford electric cars at the moment, right? So they're saying, okay, let's make the internal combustion engine cars so expensive, right, that they can't afford them either. So there's no logic. There's absolutely no logic to what they're doing.
Yeah, but it's not even affording electric cars at the moment. I mean, the infrastructure just isn't there. And I mean, if you tend to travel quite a ways, if you're commuting to work a long distance, I mean, electric car is no good to you anyway.
You know, that's not exactly right, Fran, because like the average car, like the ones that are coming now, would have a range of around 400 kilometres.
Yeah, but they're the hugely expensive ones.
No, they're not. No, they're the ones that are coming. Like the ones around the 35,000 euro mark would have a range of 400 kilometres, right? The ones that are there at the moment, like the Volkswagen ID3 that was just launched at the moment, right? It has a range of 400 kilometres, and you can get it for...
It has if you turn off the radio and turn off the heater and turn off the...
No, Fran, like the cars like that are coming now, right, have that, right? Like, so these cars are the future, right? And they're not a sham, right? They will deliver this type of performance, right? The idea, the problem is that it's a change of lifestyle, right? So you've got to, if you're going a long distance, if you're going, say, from Thurles to Belfast or something like that, right? You've got to plan your journey, right? And eventually the idea is that you use public transport to get there, right? So instead of hopping in your car and going from Thurles to Belfast, right, for the odd time that you'd actually go there, that you'd use public transport to get there. But for the rest of the time, you use your electric car and you charge it at night when like you charge your phone at night, right? When the electricity is at its cheapest level and where the demand isn't there.
Yeah,
so it is the future, Fran.
It might be the future. Yeah, but it's way into the future, because I mean, you know, I've shopped around because I'd love to have an electric car, but I have a big old diesel guzzler. I shopped around for an electric car. God almighty, I just couldn't afford it. It's just crazy stuff.
And that's the argument we're making, Fran. Yeah. That's the argument we're making. The government's policy is mad.
Yeah.
It's 10 years too soon. It is 10 years too soon. And we don't make cars in this country, right? And they're interfering in a process that's going on between the European Union and the European car manufacturers.
Right. What about second-hand cars, Dennis? If I want to buy a good second-hand car at the moment, what's that market like out there?
Second-hand market is very strong. It's really, really strong, because the new car market, they've made cars so expensive, people aren't buying them, Fran, you know? So, like, what we've done is that we've bought through price and through existing VRT levels. That's not even taking into consideration what they plan to do or what they hope to do in October's budget, right? We've made cars so expensive in this country. Like, the average price of a car in this country, Van, is 32,000 euro. And 10,400 of that is tax. It's enormous, like, so people have transport needs in this country, like, you know, like...
And what sort of profit is out that for... So if you take a 30,000 euro car, for example, what kind of profit does a dealer get out of that?
You like, our average return on is around 1.5%. 1.5% is average, and 3% would be really strong. So you're talking gross. You're talking, right, between, I suppose, up to 800 or 900 euro is what you're talking about
from a 30,000 euro car.
Yeah, and the government are getting 10,400. You know, so like our game is like, and we're not complaining about our margins. Like, there's nothing to do with our margins, Fran, because our game is a volume, low margin game. You know, that's the sector that we're in, and we're not complaining about that, right? What we're on about is the taxation policy of the government and the transportation policy of the government. Because if you're in Thurles, right, or if you're in Care, or if you're in Clonmel, I bet you it's the same as I'm in Cork, right? Public transport system, if you want to get from A to B in a rural area, it's very, very difficult.
Of course it
unless
is,
you take 3 buses and take about 10 hours to get anywhere, you know. So in Ireland, we're compelled to use our cars. But that's not recognised. That's not recognised by the government. Now, if you're in Dublin and you're on the south side of Dublin and you have the Lewis and you have the Dart and you have buses going every second minute, right, then it's an alternative. but there's no alternatives outside of suburban or urban Dublin. There's no alternatives for people, and they haven't taken that into consideration.
It looks that because of the think tank strategy group that this is a done deal. VRT is just going to increase.
I wouldn't think that. I wouldn't say so now, Fran. Because public opinion counts for a lot. Public opinion counts for a lot.
Will public opinion change things in the next 3 weeks?
Well, we'd hope so, because they suggested it as well last year, and public opinion changed it. And the reason I'm on your radio show this morning is to make people aware of what's happening, right? And you'd say it yourself, right? And we've made all the arguments to these guys, right? Made them all, and they've completely ignored every single argument. And you come back then and say to them, Fran, what if we're right? What if what we're saying is right? Wouldn't you think that, like we're an expert group, we're experts on market, we're experts on supply and demand, we're experts on price. We know what happens in the Irish market. And we're disputing their market analysis about this 1 million electric cars, because everything comes back to that, Fran. And we're saying that's wrong, and it's fundamentally wrong, it's 50% wrong. Wouldn't you think, right, that if somebody that kind of knows what they're talking about, that has lots of experience, would say that to you, which is a fundamental part of your objectives, that you'd say, do you know what, I'll hold back and I'll have a look and see whether they're right or wrong. Because if we're right, they're going to destroy the car sector, both new and used, in Ireland next year, and we're not going to come close to hitting our emissions target.
All right, Denis, I must leave it there, but thank you very much indeed. Very thought-provoking indeed. Thanks, Denis. Good morning to you. Denis Murphy there is a spokesperson for the Irish Car Carbon Reduction Alliance, and obviously he's in the car business.